An intellectual carrot, the mind boggles.
You see? You see? You're stupid minds. Stupid! Stupid!
Earth has had Santa Claus long enough. We will bring him to Mars.
I've been afraid a lot of times in my life, but I didn't know the real meaning of fear until I had kissed Becky.
One thing will be clear. It's not for man to interfere in the ways of God.
It's alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Earth vs. Soup, episode 101, the first episode of the next 100. I'm Aaron Pollier.
And I'm Darlene.
And we watched a weird film today. I said, Darlene, let's find a movie in a year that we haven't done a ton of.
And we found a Hammer film.
We found a Hammer.
We had to stop watching.
We stopped watching it, not because we're not going to review it. In fact, I think we're going to do it as our next film. That we're going to? Yeah. And that was These Are the Damned from 1961.
The Damned.
And it's also known as The Damned. But that's the next episode. We ended up finding a movie called The Day Mars Invaded Earth. Now, it has people in it that we recognize from other things that we've watched. So I was immediately kind of going, oh, okay. It has Kent Taylor. Kent Taylor was Dr. Stevens from The Phantom from 10,000 Leagues. We know him. And our favorite person from Catwoman of the Moon, who played Helen, Marie Windsor, who was a former Miss Utah. Now, we thought she was arguably the best part of Catwoman from the Moon. She played the only character in that movie. And she plays a very different character in this.
If you can call that character.
Oh, are there any characters in this movie? No, not really. But we should talk about it. Because this is a movie that is 69 minutes long. And as we were just chatting right before we started taping, Darlene, what does it feel like?
2 hours. 2 hours.
Long.
On a 2-hour tour.
Well, it's a 3-hour tour, but and unfortunately, this movie does not have the Professor Gilligan or the Skipper. It is 69 minutes of I was looking at the clock, wondering what the hell is going to happen. And here's the thing: it's not that the movie is
bad.
It's not bad. It's the pacing is.
What did I write down?
Wow, how do I even describe it?
The pacing is poor and not able to understand what is going on.
See, I don't know. I would say that I understood what was going on, and saying that I agree, the pacing was poor, but just saying it was poor doesn't really describe what this movie's like. It really feels like
a drama.
No, not even drama. It feels like it's a serial that has had all the cliffhangers taken out. So you end up having like long periods where there's nothing really happening and you're expecting something to happen and nothing happens. Like nothing dramatic happens. Not that there isn't dramatic things in this movie, again, but we should talk about the plot first, then we're going to get into like the actual criticism while we're doing the plot, correct? We should.
Well, I want to say this was double featured with Elvis's film.
Okay.
Kissing Cousins. Now that's a strange.
Well, this is clearly the second film. Like everyone would go to see Elvis and then leave during this film because it's just long shots.
Unless they were in the back seat mooching.
So while we describe the plot, what we should say is imagine long shots of looking at the back of somebody's head as they look over a garden. And the garden's in black and white and out of focus. So you aren't really looking at anything except the back of somebody's head for minutes at a time. Am I correct, Darlene?
I wouldn't describe it that way. We've had worse movies.
Yes, we have. We have had worse movies.
I mean, and the one thing I will say right up front is this is depressing.
It is. It is very much unlike the
And I
other
think
films of
that
this era.
added to the
Feeling.
the amount of time just dragging.
Yeah, so let's talk about the plot. I just wanted to get that image in your mind of looking at the back of somebody's head, looking at something that is kind of pointless to you and out of focus and not really scenic.
I don't see it that way.
To me, that's what I see.
But it does start off pretty nice.
Yeah, actually it does. It does start off really nice. It starts off with a rocket launch, and we have our credits along with a rocket launch, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty typical 1950s or 60s science fiction, beginning a rocket launch or seeing stars, and then there's the credits, and that's where we see Marie Windsor in this, and I was like, oh, hell yes. You know, we're going to get some, like, sass, or we're going to get some, like, actual, like, a meaty female role in this. Like, we had... She had a meaty female role in Catwoman of the Moon. She was a character.
But in this one, she's a
nothing.
Flat wife.
Yeah, it's just a flat nothing. I am American wife. I am
from the 1950s.
I am rich. I came from a rich family. I deserve good things, and I am okay with not having them. Like it's every person in this film is very robotic, and you know what? Sometimes it makes sense why they're robotic, but when it doesn't, they still are. Let's get further into this, okay? So during the credits, we see a capsule that looks like, to me, when I wrote it down, it's crashed
like
on the moon. But it turns
it
out
looks like the moon.
It's not the moon. It's Mars.
Why we think it's the moon is because there's craters.
It looks like the moon.
And it's dusty.
And it's black and white, so it's all just gray tones, right? So it was immediately the moon. Since this is 1963, you're automatically thinking it's a moonshot. And especially after what they say later, but let's get into what else we see here. There's a strange robot moving across the moon's surface. This is what I wrote down. It starts to smoke, and then fire erupts from underneath its skirt. Now, you had comments about this robot.
I said it was a cute little robot.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really well designed. Now, here's the thing. I could tell exactly what it was made out of. It was made out of, like, a desk lamp and a couple other, like, car antenna and like a golf ball.
I wouldn't say that was a golf ball. I would have thought it was a tennis ball. Because it was about the size of a tennis ball.
Could have been, or a ping pong ball, something like that. But then there's, like, car antennas sticking off it. And I'm like, hey, wait.
Or TV antennas.
Good job. You can clearly see that it was made on the cheap, but it still looks pretty good. I had no problems with it. Yeah, I liked it. But it starts smoking and, like, fire belches out of this. Now,
at 372 yards, they're using yards.
Well, it is a U.S. space program.
It got soil samples and was analyzing it before it
just blew up.
We get that a little in the next scene.
And there's like a little pile of ashes that are left with a couple little antennas sticking out of it. And I'm like, aw, that's adorable. But here's the thing. Even though they say, oh, it's a moonshot, they describe exactly what it launched on, which were real rockets. And I'm like, there's no way in hell it went to the Mars. It was like, they call it the Mariner B spacecraft. And it was blasted into space on an Atlas B rocket and a Centaur upper stage. And I'm like, oh, all right. No.
He said that was pretty good science.
I mean, those are real rockets, and there were actual Mariner probes. So, I mean, all right. It works. So here we have, and again, I had to write down the names of everybody. All the main characters are a Fielding. So the main character is Dr. David Fielding, played by Kent Taylor.
And the other person that's in it is Webb.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Webb. But he's Dr. That's not his last name. They just always call him by his first name.
Yes, that's his first name.
It's Webb Spencer.
You never hear the Spencer
right in the
part.
first scene, but it's so fast, I didn't even write it down. The Fielding wife is Claire. He has a daughter named Judy and a son named Rocky. Like, really, his name's just Rocky.
Why did you name your kid after a dog?
I don't know. Well, why a dog? What are you talking about?
Well, Rocky is like a dog's name.
Rocky and Bullwinkle.
And
darling.
I was making a joke.
It's a squirrel. He's named after a squirrel.
Okay, a squirrel. I was making the joke of why did you take the dog's name?
Oh, for Indiana Jones, yeah. What, you named yourself after the dog. And here's where things start getting kind of weird. Like right after we have this discussion between Fielding and Dr. Webb, they're like dictating that contact was lost with the space probe. And how do I even start going into this? There's Fielding gets a phone call from his wife, and his secretary comes in and tells him this because he's not picking up the phone for whatever reason. Webb excuses himself, and as soon as Webb leaves, Fielding ends up getting this like weird blur over his head, and you thought it was a film mistake.
Yeah, I thought it was a film mistake.
And there's this high-pitched whine, and nope, it turns out that he just has this weird blur over his face.
Well, we do watch a lot of old movies, and sometimes the film
there's weird aberrations on it, yeah. So there's this high-pitched squeal. His head goes blurry. He seems to black out. It's not that the film blacks out. He just seems to do nothing for a moment.
And they show it right before that he fell asleep giving his secretary notes. So
did he fall asleep, or was it just another blackout?
I don't know, but what I got of it was he was dozing off when giving...
Okay. So he then gets on the phone with his wife, and his kids are talking to him. It's clear that his kids miss him. He's been away from home for a long time. They lived in Florida. No, where did the hell did they live before?
I don't know, but they were they sold their house and they were moving to Florida, but the only place they've got is
Claire's family's mansion.
Guest house.
Because I guess Claire's parents died, and they took all the furniture out of the main house, but like the guest house still had furniture, so that's where they're staying.
And the mansion happens to be an actual mansion that's got in several different movies. It's
what is it called?
The Gray Mansion in Beverly Hills.
Okay, it's the Gray Mansion in Greystone Park and Mansion. Greystone.
Oh.
So here's where it gets the first thing that really is weird. He gets off the phone, he stands up from his desk and leaves his office. The camera pans back around, and he's still sitting there. And it's not done in a way that is overly strange. Like I was like, wait, what? Didn't he just leave? It was a little confusing, and I'm like, oh, okay. This is all going to be either a mind screw. This entire movie is going to be a mind screw, or it's a weird Body Snatchers movie.
It turns out to be a weird...
It's sort of a weird Body Snatcher movie. So, where was I again? Because a lot of these scenes bleed together. So Fielding goes home to this huge mansion in California, arriving with his wife. They're in like a station wagon, and they drive up a freaking driveway that takes like a minute and a half of film to go up. Right?
Yeah, that's the other part that they could have done, is cut out some of these long scenes of
just nothing.
Because they did that with the kids' car too.
Did they? Yeah, I guess they did a little bit with what's his name leaving. I don't even remember his name. Frank.
Because the reason why I remember that is because the brother picks on her.
That
his
all
sister,
of her boyfriends
boyfriends were Frank.
Are named Frank. So the son wouldn't let the mother take down the Christmas tree because Dad was off.
And it's after New Year's.
It's way after New Year's.
Because they've got to celebrate Christmas and New Year's.
It is. I thought it was supposed to be March at this point. I thought I remember hearing that it was March, but it makes sense because when they go inside the house, the Christmas tree looks like Charlie Brown's Christmas tree. That it died months ago, but there's still like ornaments hanging off of it, and like it has a couple needles, and I thought, okay, that's a good touch. That's actually kind of cute that they didn't have it be like like a live tree anymore. It's months later.
Yeah, and there's about 3 minutes of him walking around the mansion too.
Him walking around the mansion. Then he opens up presents, and there's this weird scene where the dialogue between Dave and Claire seems to suggest, and this is after the kids leave, like the daughter gives him a classical music record, and there's like a gift that is given to him by Claire. And if it was any other movie and any other time period after this, the dialogue came off like Claire had gifted him a sex toy. Like she kept saying, "Oh, you don't want to open it right now while the kids are here." And things like that. And he was like raising his eyebrow and smirking a little. And I honestly thought there was going to be something implied that like we would see him opening that gift and it would be something weird, or maybe it would be something alien. Like, I don't know, but nothing happens. They break away from that scene before he even opens up the gift. We don't know what happened with that gift. This is where we learn about the fact that this is her family's home, that she never really wanted it. We have another scene of David walking around the grounds of this mansion.
That's
with
what I said.
Yeah.
It was about 3 minutes long.
Yeah, and his face again blurs. There's this moment of blurring, and he kind of locks up, and then he sees his wife. He calls her over, going, "I thought you were inside the house," and I guess it's supposed to be nighttime, and he's just kind of wandering around. And he goes, Claire, come on over here.
And she disappears.
Well, he doesn't even see her disappear. He just kind of goes off to meet her, and he breaks eyesight with her for a sec, eye line with her. Yeah, and he wanders around for like another 3 minutes looking for her, and she's not there. So he goes back into the house.
And she says she was never outside.
She never left outside. Fielding's really confused. I always write down his name as Fielding, not David. But that she hasn't been out all day. We then get a scene outside with his daughter Judy necking with her boyfriend Frank in a gorgeous car. I don't know what kind of car it was. We didn't really look up the cars in this movie because we were just really confused with the movie. And since we were confused, we didn't really want to look away from it for any kind of time. So we didn't look it up. I'm very sorry, folks. Normally we do look up these cars. There's a weird 1960s station wagon that just didn't really look that good. But then there was this gorgeous...
It's probably a Roadster.
No, it was not. It looked like it was a Mercedes-Benz or something like... I mean, it was a very expensive car.
And it gets what?
Well, okay. Judy and her boyfriend Frank are necking out there. And at one point, Claire here gets blurry. Claire, the mother, gets blurry. And Rocky walks in, and he says that he's been outside. Oh, and Judy's outside, so I guess the son's been watching his sister making out with Frank. And he says that the front door of the mansion's open. Okay. Well, at this point, Rocky wants to go out, but she tells him, "No, don't worry about it.
You
Stay
skipped
behind."
a whole
Did
part. Yeah, there's where Claire finds her husband and runs from him by the pool. And the pool at that time was full. Where every other part, it's empty.
I will admit that I probably have whole scenes that I did not write down because they just seem to be duplicated or they didn't really seem to have added anything. I will admit that.
Yeah, because this is the kissing part.
Yeah, where they're making out. Now, here's the thing, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit out of order, because, again, this film's confusing, and I have just certain scenes that I've written notes down because there's huge chunks. Frank, the boyfriend, is incredibly respectful.
Yes.
While you automatically think that he's kind of a fast guy, that he's just there to, like, get into Judy's panties, he really isn't. Like, he's obviously a hormonal, like, late teenage, early 20s man.
Because they're going to see... She's thinking of going to the college.
To be a scientist. Like, and I guess it's... Do they ever even mention what kind of scientist that she's trying to do?
No.
Okay. But he comes in... There's like a scene where he's actually talking to Claire, the mother. about what his and Judy's plans are for tonight.
That night.
And normally this is something that like the father would be in on. Like, okay, I'm going to deal with the father because the father's the one that will castrate me if I screw up here.
But the father's chasing himself or something.
Yeah, Fielding's just out there running around. So he is actually being not condescending at all to the mother, which I thought was respectful. He was being very
Gives
respectful.
a phone number of where they're going to be at, when they're going back, and
yeah, he doesn't just say where they're going. He writes it all down without being asked. Like, hey, look, this is where we're going. This is the phone number. This is when we're leaving. This is when I'll be back here to drop her off.
But after the teenagers are kissing, Judy, the girl, says to Frank, her boyfriend, that she doesn't think that he should come over the next day. And that's when David, the father, comes out and interrupts.
Yeah.
And invites Frank to come over tomorrow before he leaves.
Does this make any sense in this movie with like a payoff?
I think this is the other Frank at that point.
Not the other Frank, the other David.
Other David that's telling him to come. But then I get I don't know which one is which.
See, here's the thing, folks. Let's just talk about it. There are duplicate people in this movie.
Even the
kids. And most of the time, you can't tell who is who because A, they look exactly the same, and B, they basically act the same. And here's what's weird. The regular versions of themselves, the normal, like the human versions of themselves, act very woodenly all the time anyway. That's the problem. Why this is so, who is this? Is this the alien version? Is this not?
But this is our first discovery that these are duplicates, is because Judy goes inside the manor home and Frank goes down the road for a while.
Another long drive.
And then Judy appears in the road and makes him crash the car.
Yes, and he's dead. Like, he dies.
I thought he was put in the hospital.
No, because Claire's like, that poor boy. Who's going to tell his family? Like, no, he's dead. He's fully dead. And do we see Judy ever shed a single tear? Because she does find out Frank is dead.
Yeah, she was there.
Not a single tear.
Like, she's the regular at and that's why her mom puts her in with some medicine.
But we don't see. Yeah, I gave her a pill to put her to sleep, but we don't see any reaction really out of her. That's the thing. Like, what a modern filmmaker can learn from this movie, folks, is if somebody is actually feeling something or should be showing a large amount of emotion, let the character show it. Like, because here's the thing. Again,
you needed to know which were the aliens, because all they are is energy,
like energy projections,
intelligent energy.
Yes, and see, we're spoiling things out of the plot here. We're doing things out of the plot order because there's.
But they needed to be acting alien, not like themselves. But so you never had this. The humans were acting like what would be alien, and the aliens were. So there was no.
Okay, so the good
separation between
the good version of this movie. I agree, Darlene. I agree, and I'm sorry for interrupting. The good version of this movie is Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where the human versions of these people act like people. That in general they're people, and the alien versions of themselves act mostly like their human counterparts, but have some certain traits. They have certain traits that they cannot properly express emotion-wise. But in this movie, the characters, when they're human, don't express emotions normally anyway. And their alien versions are exactly the same. So
it makes it worse because you can't.
You can't follow what's going on. Who's doing what? Like, is Judy like screwing with her boyfriend like as a prank, and this just turned out to be a bad prank?
Well, at that point, you knew it wasn't going to.
Well,
be, 'cause that
no,
was
but
clear
who's
down the-
who's what? Because Judy could have been the alien Judy could have been the one inside for all we know with how they act. That's the question. Yeah, it seems more likely that the alien version is the one that was in the road. But anyway, Fielding is there's a scene with Fielding calling out for Claire and Rocky. Rocky shows up and says he has no idea where Mom is, even though there was the scene beforehand where Rocky and Mom were talking, so we clearly know at least one of them was a duplicate, most likely Rocky at that point. Claire's freaking out because she keeps seeing people while she's wandering around the property. She sees her husband who's acting cold, and again, Fielding acts cold anyway, but this seemed like it was overly cold and it made her react. This is the one time that Claire kind of reacts.
The only thing I can say that I do notice is that when David is the alien, he's in a suit.
He's always in a suit.
No, he's not.
When they're on the screen together, they are in different clothing. In the alien's in a suit. But Fielding, when he's normally just when he's off by himself and it's supposed to be the regular human version of him, which it might be.
I thought he was like wearing a vest or something.
In some he is, but he's always got like a shirt and tie on. That's the thing. Like, okay, anyway. Claire says that she feels like there's a malevolent presence. We have Frank being killed. We see Judy getting blurry in bed, and we see that she sees her own duplicate in her bedroom. She screams, freaks out.
And her other duplicate is not, the duplicate is in street clothes.
It's in street clothes.
And she's in.
And they actually fight.
And she goes running down the hall.
Yeah, theoretically, the regular Judy goes running down the hall because she's in bed clothes. But again, who knows, because these are intelligent energy like beings, so they could have just shifted their
Yeah, she could have came through the window because the window was open.
Yeah, so here's the thing. If it was the real Judy that ran out of the room, okay, and the energy being Judy just appeared in the room, why did the energy being Judy have to open up the window to escape, or even open it up to get inside? It doesn't make sense, right?
Because they make a point that David, the
energy being version of David.
No, I don't know which one it is.
Okay.
Walks in and looks at the window for a pause.
Yeah, he does. But remember, there's a scene later on where the energy being David just can like blink in and out of existence.
So so we're really saying one of the things that modern filmmakers can make is, if you're going to have duplicates, it doesn't matter whether it's a superhero that's playing somebody. You can't always play that person exactly like that.
There needs to be some sort of distinction for the audience. Like you can say however you want inside the film that these people are indistinguishable, right? And if there's a scene like, let's say, even in Star Trek V, where you have two Kirks pointing at each other and going, shoot him, he's the duplicate, that makes sense in that kind of scene. But where you're having the whole movie is about people being duplicated and one being basically evil energy beings and the other being regular, normal human people, there needs to be a distinction. So the last part of the film has Dr. Webb coming in and saying that Washington wants Fielding back at work on Monday. The probe lost contact, but there was a strong signal that came through right before they lost contact. That's the energy beings that we're talking about being sent through.
Dave talks to Dr. Webb.
Yeah.
About the hauntings. He calls them hauntings too.
That he's like, yeah, there's a malevolent presence. I think I'm seeing ghosts or something.
And he sends off, the next day he's going to send off his wife and kids to go to Aunt Frances's house.
And do you know what's weird? Every time he said Aunt Frances, I honestly thought it was Anne Francis, and I'm like, why are we referencing Forbidden Planet? Like the actress from Forbidden Planet who's Anne Francis. Anyway, I thought it was funny because he's not really saying aunt, it's Anne, and then the T's very quiet, like he's not really emphasizing. It's always Aunt Francis. They're going to leave, but the gate starts malfunctioning, so no one can leave. The phone stops working, and there's this electronic howl that we've been hearing all the way through the movie every time a person's face blurs. Fielding is searching the big house, and he encounters his duplicate, who calls himself a manifestation of intelligence. This is where he encounters his duplicate. And it says that, of course, Mars has life. We are those life forms. They only wish to stop the attacks on Mars. And they don't seem to understand that humans are just sending probes to explore. And he goes, there's no difference between exploring and attacking. And I thought,
stop your attacking on us is what they're doing.
Well, and I thought, okay, maybe they're going to have like a philosophical debate on this. Like, oh, humanity through its explorations in the past have kind of conquered and destroyed native peoples and cultures. Is this what's going to be discussed here? Is this movie suddenly going to become interesting? No. No.
We're going to remove and replace key people in the program.
Yeah, and I guess the Martians basically come out and say that every time humans send a probe to Mars, we're going to make it fail and replace everyone involved with us. And we are going to stop humanity from attacking other planets.
And at this point, Dave asked about the kids. Why do you do that with my kids and that?
Yeah.
And it's because the intelligent him, the energy being of him, says that families are too close and it's hard to replace
one without them.
They can go around with their colleagues, but
loved ones know them too well. And it's okay.
And not able to fool them.
Yeah, okay.
But except that this family has been fooling me the whole doggone time.
Yeah, I know. And then so Fielding pulls a gun on his duplicate. And the duplicate's just kind of like, yeah, that's not going to do anything. Sorry, you should just put it down. And Fielding doesn't even care at this point. Like, he knows that the Martians are going to kill him and his family. What does Fielding do? Drop his gun and shrug. What a bitch.
He was thinking of escaping.
No, how is he going to escape? They're following him around and he knows it.
Well, he was thinking he would get his family out and leave that place.
Yeah, so they try to get this gate popped at this point.
Webb breaks it with a crowbar.
Now, the Martians also claim we aren't here out of vindictiveness. We're here to watch. No, screw you. Screw you. You're here to kill people. Now, did the humans kill anyone on Mars? No, you never claimed that. You just said your planet was attacked. How? And you never explain it. Look, honest to God, at this point, the Martians clearly are in the wrong. They're being dicks. They're killing, well, they will kill kids.
Yes.
Like, how are we supposed to feel at this point? You're trying to make an argument that Earth is attacking Mars, and you're trying to stop it. Yet you are clearly the villains here, right? Okay, so this is a classic alien invasion movie. The problem is that your human protagonists in this case are so awful, cowardly, worthless to the story overall. The only person that's actually worth a damn to the story is Fielding himself. And he just shrugs and drops his gun.
Well, Webb fights it.
Webb fights it, but gets wiped out.
He gets...
There is no fighting these things.
He gets fuzzy on the way back.
Yeah.
Because he gets trapped between...
two Fieldings. Well, it's Fielding blinking in and out of existence that he tries to run him down.
And then he gets caught in the pool area between the mother and the kids and Fielding.
And he bursts into flames and turns into ash. Like, they kill him, and then like the camera pans around and there's a duplicate of Webb who says, "Hey, load up in the car, let's go." And everybody, and you think, oh crap, the duplicate of Webb is going to load up the family into the car and pretend like they're getting away. But no, they're all duplicates, because then the camera pans down into the bottom of the pool, and there's more piles of people-shaped ashes.
And then the pool fills up. And this is one of the things that I said was a continuity error. There was
the pool is full or empty depending on the scene.
No, there's only one that has it full.
Okay.
And so that had to have been an after.
A post-production shoot. Well, anyway, the water pours into the pool and erases the last remains of this whole family. The end, folks.
Very depressing.
Geez.
Very. How are you going to fight these creatures?
You can't. They just melt you. They just turn you into dust, and they're killing kids, like innocent kids that have that had nothing to do with this. Okay, so this is something I would generally expect from, let's say, the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, remake from the 70s with Leonard Nimoy. That's fine. If it's still science fiction. It still could be a good idea or a good.
I can't believe that something in 60.
I can believe that something this dark in 63 could be made and released. The problem is that it's so rare to see it, and to see it so blatant. Like, you don't generally see movies with kids being killed. Now, we don't see the children being killed, but we know they are dead at that last shot when you see the piles of ash.
Yeah.
Like,
that.
Holy crap, dude. What kind of message are you sending with this movie? There isn't any. This is an alien invasion movie where the aliens win in the end. That's what this is.
It's hopeless.
It's an incredibly hopeless and bleak movie for this era in science fiction. Not that it's unique. It's just that it's bleak. So, man, what did work in this movie, Darlene?
If it wasn't such a bleak movie, it would have been a great showcase place for the. I think half their funding was with the
location.
The location of showing it off
with this Greystone mansion.
Yeah.
The sets were good. Like that, I can say that.
Even that lab in the.
Even the really
right in the beginning.
No. I would say
it's better than some of them.
Everything that was filmed at Greystone, you can't go wrong with like a multi-million-dollar mansion that you're filming at as a set. That works. I am shocked at seeing Marie Windsor in this and being a complete cardboard cutout of a character, because she was the best thing out of Catwoman from the Moon. She played an interesting three-dimensional character, a strong female lead. Okay. In this, she's just a wet cardboard cutout. All the characters are
with a blonde wig.
With a blonde wig, which is very strange to see her in, because I guess she's naturally dark-haired. In Catwoman from the Moon, she had a full head of dark hair. This, she's just blonde, and it was. I almost did a double take when she came on screen for the first time. I'm like, wait a second. I thought Marie Windsor was in this. Now, I'm still shocked that her character was so pointless.
And the kids, you said, didn't have any.
There's nothing there.
Nothing. No, I mean in their history.
No, the two kid actors. And you know what? I shouldn't crap on their acting ability, because I guarantee you it's the script. Because there has to have been nothing here. Well, you can see that there was nothing here to work with. The kids, you can't tell if they did well or not, because of the lack of anything in this script. They really didn't have any other credits outside of. There's a couple credits each on like TV shows.
Even Frank.
Yeah, well, Frank, I don't know about Frank. He was played by Lowell Brown. Let me look him up really quick while we're on here. No, you know what? He probably had the largest amount of the secondary characters. Look, wow, lots of movies: Ghost Driver, 18 and Anxious, um, Tokyo After Dark, The
But
Girl in
look,
Lover's
this looks
Lane.
like it's his
It's his last movie.
movie.
It doesn't say that it doesn't say when he died or if he's dead, but yeah, this was his last credit. But he was in movies, like, okay. And obviously Kent Taylor and Marie Windsor were in other movies, and William Mims was in movies. The guy that played Dr. Webb, he was actually in a lot of stuff.
He actually made a character.
He had a bit of a character. But anyway, he has lots of credits. It's the secondary characters in this movie that have lots of credits, I guess. But yeah, they're just, what worked is the set, and I think that's all I can really say that worked.
And we said what didn't work.
Well, I liked the probe model.
Yes, the probe. I love the little
The little robot that wandered across the surface of Mars.
And you even got to see the capsule.
Yeah, which was a standard kind of Gemini capsule at the time. Like I thought, oh, there's people on the moon. Okay, that's cool. But yeah, what specifically doesn't work is clearly the script and premise is not a good match here. Like, it's an interesting premise, but the script fails it. You have good actors, Kent Taylor and Marie Windsor. The other movies we've seen them in, they're actually pretty damn good. But obviously the script fails them. I think the direction must have failed them in this movie, because they are good actors.
Did the director have any other films?
Okay, maybe we should talk about that. It's Maury Dexter, who was the director of this film. Looking him up, he's only died recently in 2017. He died at the age of 89. 12 credits as a secondary director. As a director, he has 24 credits, and I'm trying to see if
Little House on the Prairie,
House of the Damned, Raiders from Beneath the Sea. We've seen Hell's Bells. Yeah, Little House on the Prairie. 21 episodes of Little House on the Prairie. But wow, producer. He was a producer of 23 films as well, but a lot of them were the same films he directed. So he's a producer and director, Darlene. That's already kind of telling you what he's doing, right?
And the writer is Harry Spalding.
Harry Spalding. That
sounds familiar to me.
Curse of the Fly. Let's see here. I saw that.
Oh, I will say one other good thing. They did give the creep factor. They did do the creep factor in this thing.
Yeah. The Earth Dies Screaming. The Earth Dies Screaming, that British film that we thought was actually pretty good. That's the one where they even go out to like the British base to get like supplies, and it was the poison gas. He was the writer. He was listed as Henry Cross in it, but we actually liked that movie.
Okay.
All right, so I don't know. Maybe the writing isn't really to be at fault here. No, the writing is pretty bad. He had to have learned something between.
But I really want to say it's probably the direction of, because
it's the director and producer.
It seems so. They did have the creep factor going.
Yeah, it is. It is weird. It has some
and that could
atmosphere.
be because of the music that's constantly kind of going on,
or how wooden all the characters are always acting. It feels like. It feels like you could have done this movie as like a backlit silhouette on a screen. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like a shadow play. This could have been a shadow play. That's how like blank everything kind of seems in this. Even though the scenery is actually probably the best part of the film, like this mansion. Wow, what? We don't recommend this movie, do we?
Unless you want to see what not to do about
directing
your actors when they're playing basically two different people.
Yeah, God, I'm really sad about saying I don't recommend it, because I really liked Marie Windsor in Catwoman of the Moon. She was just so damn good. And I saw her in the credits and I got so excited. Maybe it was just my expectation, but then again, this seems like also a pretty standard, very badly done movie.
Now, remember what you said before we did this. I've got to do this now, or I'm not. If tomorrow, I can't wait till tomorrow, or I'll forget everything.
Yeah, this movie is. See, we can say that it's the writing and the direction, the acting in general is really poor in this, but most of this movie is incredibly forgettable. Like, I'm not going to remember any of these scenes. Like, I'll remember the fact 2 months from now, I'll tell you the things I'll remember from this movie are that people's faces get blurry. It's Invasion of the Body Snatchers plot just done very poorly.
It had an eat robot, and it had a scene where the pool was full.
No, I mean, I'll remember the kids being killed.
Yeah, the ashes in the pool.
I'll remember that. Like that's because I was like, holy crap.
And that's not something you want your people
No, I
to
mean,
remember.
why not? It's stuck in your head and you're going to talk about that. Like, oh my God, it has like this crazy ending where kids are killed and turned into ash and their ashes just get washed away in the pool. So there's nothing left of them. Like, God, that's bleak for this time. Again, like I said, you know, late 70s.
I wouldn't even want to watch a movie today that's like
no,
that.
I know. I don't either. So we don't recommend it. We didn't think it was very good. There are a couple things that are nice in it, like the sets. All that being said, we're going to do a Hammer movie next time. Like I said at the beginning of this review, we're going to do These Are the Damned from 1961.
That's what you're going to have to look for as if you're going to watch this. These Are the Damned. It's actually The Damned.
It's under both. Now, we got a Blu-ray box set of Hammer films because, as we said last episode, we're going to start doing a little bit more in the horror genre from the 50s, 60s, and move into the 20s, 30s, and 40s a little bit, so we can say, hey, know your roots in science fiction.
And we just got that delivered today.
We just got it delivered, and I said, oh, well, we're going to do These Are the Damned from 1961. And I guess that is a little bleak too, but it's not science fiction. Well, it sort of is. And we'll get into that later.
And it's British.
It is, well, I mean, it's a Hammer horror, of course. Of course it is. But we've heard interesting things about it, so we're looking forward to watching it. You should be able to find These Are the Damned to watch in many different places.
Because we found it today.
Yeah, we found it today on a common video site.
We started to watch it, and then all of a sudden...
No, wait, it's Hammer horror.
It's Hammer horror.
No. We're going to get this. We're going to get this in. But for this film that we did today, the Day Mars Invaded Earth, we found it on a very popular video internet site for free to watch. Not to download, to just watch. The site might be interesting to you, and it was played on my boob tube. So if you know what site I'm talking about, and no, it's not Pornhub. So anyway, I'm Aaron Pollier.
I'm Darlene. Good night.
And keep watching the skies.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.